welcome to Challenge Accepted, the podcast where we challenge each other to a new movie or TV show each week. I am Frank, and I'm joined by Thomas.
Aloha, everybody. This was a very magical episode.
Oh, what a spicy Agatha we have for us today. Really, I mean, what are we talking about? An episode of Billy Maximoff. That's what we're watching today, and it was so good. Billy knows more than we thought he knew.
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely. We knew that we were going to get some type of backstory. And we also probably knew that we were going to kind of see how episode one really went down. And I love the way they did it. It's just
Yeah.
so damn good. Plus, you get a really well done backstory for Billy. And oh, man. God, if you don't love him after this episode, there's something wrong with you.
For real, bro. And then when Agatha went full Agatha at the end of this too, I was like, oh, Catherine Hahn, she
Mhm.
enjoyed that day at onset. There's no doubt.
Totally. Yeah, she was in her bag. And also it's like, yeah, for people, I know there was like some people saying like she's kind of an anti-hero. It's like, no, she's a villain.
No, she's
And
a
this was
villain.
an episode that reminded you she's a villain.
Yeah, she could be redeemed someday, but it ain't right now for sure. That's not what she's in this
Yes.
for.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and get started with a rundown, and that is up to you. I have your timer for you, and go ahead and get started.
Okay, so we're here for episode 6, Familiar by Thy Side. Billy is going through his bar mitzvah. I believe that's what he is. We also
Yeah.
see that his parents are there. There's a palm reading there. I didn't know if that's cool for like Jewish practices, but hey, Lilia Kalaru's in there. She says your lifeline is broken in two. She mumbles like the tower's reversed. Okay, we get that. You're a good egg. As he's on the way home, actually, the party gets canceled because hey, there's the hex is going out of control. Everybody needs to get back. Okay, cool. They're on the way home. They're watching the hex as it's kind of shrinking. His mom's not paying attention. Fly off the road. An absolutely brutal car crash.
Hmm.
Everybody's messed up. Billy or William at the time, William Kaplan, seems to die. You can hear the heartbeat going down, and you can hear some like voices in the background. We'll talk about that more. And then when he comes to, he's in the hospital, but it's not the William that started the
Yeah,
episode. He doesn't
halfway
remember
through.
anything. Yeah, he doesn't remember his parents. But he also starts like uncovering everything. He finds a guy that's very familiar from WandaVision, a certain Ralph Boner, or Bonerific 69. He tells them even more information. Billy does his own research on Agatha, leads him into Westview, and then we see everything from episode 1 from his perspective. Then kind of fast forward back to kind of the present day, and we're back on the Witch's Road, and Agatha confronts Billy, and they're kind of begrudgingly now working with each other. I didn't even
Man,
use my notes at the end. I don't know if I hit it or not.
I
That
was
went off
like,
the rails.
he's running slow, and then you sped up, and he
Bad
kicked
up.
ass.
You're like
Um,
30 seconds. And I was like, wait, do we have a minute on this or 2 minutes? Even though we've been doing this for 150 episodes or plus. I don't remember
yeah,
anymore.
plus.
Packed.
The most important thing, guys, Ralph Boner, and then also Agatha later on, the shirt she's wearing when she's in the delusion is like Boner Camp, Family Camp
Yes.
Reunion, or whatever. And I was like, yes, that's so
Yeah.
great.
The Boner
Because
family reunion shirt. Just
yeah,
hilarious.
she's still
Hilarious.
living in his house. By the way, we have confirmation of that. That's not her house. It's actually his house that she's still living in, and
Yeah,
ruined the
yeah.
property value of. Oh, seeing
Yeah.
him was so good.
That was a hilarious joke. I mean, yeah, just Evan Peters obviously is blown up. He did that whole Monsters show too, and he's a tremendous actor. We all know that.
Of
But
course.
like, man, it's so fun how much fun he gets to have in this role. And it's a
Yeah.
stupid role. I want him to be Quicksilver too, but he's having fun as well in this episode.
Hey, if we get Tommy looking for a body and something happens to Ralph, I'm just saying,
Dang,
it
that
could
would
happen
be
to Speed.
that'd be crazy. But then that's
Too
not.
crazy.
I guess they're not really going to be like the Young Avengers anyway. But like, they really won't be the Young Avengers. Like, I'm pretty sure he's older than me.
It'd be like the Young Avengers plus the guy that buys them beer.
Yeah, yeah. Quick stop, Quicksilver.
Yes. Okay, so let's go ahead and reverse course a little bit. Let's go back to that bar mitzvah. We know who puts the sigil on Billy, and it's Lilia. And I love how she puts the sigil on him because she sees that his life strand is broken. And as soon as she puts that sigil in his coat, she forgets what she just did too. It's this lore that they're building and making it so casual and just like super clean.
I didn't catch the part that she forgot about it. I thought that was like a ploy on her. But you're right, because she says, I thought that was really weird when she says, like, oh, who is this jacket for? She's like, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Like, I just thought that was so weird. But she was kind of fast forwarding in a sense, right? Like her
No.
future version.
As soon as she drops it, if you watch again, because I will be watching again, as soon as she drops it, her face changes. Like, wait, what am I doing? And then she's like, "Oh, there's a coat here. One of the kids left
Yeah, like
behind."
her future version pushed the sigil in, and then her like regular version, her in time version forgot.
No, I presumed it was her in time version the whole time because she saw the future. She saw his line that it's broke, and then saw the whole future, which she said the line "the tower reversed," so to remember that for the future.
Right,
Um,
right. Yeah.
but then as soon as she drops the sigil in his coat, he has a sigil on him,
Right.
and yeah, so that's
Yeah,
why it seems like
I don't know. Yeah, I guess the way I was viewing it was like, you know, how she kind of, her whole thing is like she kind of messes with time, right? She says, I read
for real.
time, I read
Yeah,
people, right? And like the way she's been kind of spouting out things all season has been for future things that are coming up. So her
true.
dropping the sigil was a future version or a future mindset from her. And then when she hands the code over is what she forgot. Like it's like her now in present, like, oh, wait, what was I doing out here?
I could see that. I could see that. I mean, I think yeah, I could see
Is that
that.
what you meant? That's why I
No,
thought
not at
that you
all.
meant.
I meant that as soon as she puts the sigil in there, the sigil's working, and the witches don't know who Billy is.
Oh, that the sigil is then tricky. Okay, okay. I didn't catch that. So she almost kind of like hexed herself with the sigil.
Which is what Agatha says can happen. As soon as she puts that sigil in his coat, boom, witches cannot know who Billy is.
Oh,
And
okay,
she's
okay.
hired
That
by the
makes way
Kaplan
more
family, so
sense.
she knows who Billy is. Boom, he's
Yeah.
protected. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, okay. That's so much cooler. Okay, that makes way more sense. All right, I got it. I
I'm
got
telling
it.
you, now that what I said, now watch it, and it's like, oh, yeah, awesome acting by Patty LaPone.
Sad. I've already watched it twice.
Oh man, we were by the way we were recording at like 10:30 at night, guys. This is a double recording for me or double podcasting day for me. So yes, it's been busy and so
Likewise.
little punchy.
Yeah, yeah.
um, but yeah, so then we meet William who dies in the car accident, and they just released the footage of the behind the scenes of that. And what a way to go! Props to him. Like there's multiple cars driving at one time, and that car has to dart in front of the camera car to get across it real quick. And then they do a separate shot where it's a car getting hit on the side. It's amazing the production value behind the show. It's crazy.
Wow. Which is crazy too, because like we know it's got a lesser budget than all these other shows, and yet this
True.
moment feels so impactful.
Yeah.
Just the way you can kind of see the hex going down, and I love it. This is honestly one of my favorite parts about this whole episode, and
Hmm.
it's one of the more brutal parts too. I mean, because that car crash is rough. It's
It is rough.
it's
Yeah.
like it's very visceral. You feel it, like you see
And
some
William
things in movies.
dies. Like that's
Yeah,
sad.
exactly. And so like I love the way they show that he dies too, which
Yeah.
is like the sound goes out and then you can just hear like the heart slowly stop beating.
Yeah.
And like man, and then while you do it, if you really like if you turn up the volume, you can also hear Wanda is saying good night Billy, good night Tommy. So showing that those spirits are probably leaving the hex as she's bringing it down, and then it's they're finding the nearest vessel, or Billy's spirit is finding the nearest vessel
Right.
in William Kaplan.
And then the first words out of his mouth is Tommy, and I was just like, there you go. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Beautifully
definitely.
done. I sent you the video talking about this, but yeah, the budget for this series is $40 million dollars.
Mhm.
Ridiculously low, and yet one of the better done Disney Plus
Comparatively.
series overall.
Yeah, definitely. Because I'm always thinking of like I'm comparing to other things, and it's like crazy. This is 9 episodes, and then you get Secret Invasion that's 225 million, and it's
For
six
six,
episodes, and
yeah,
it's like where did the budget go for that show?
and it's
I feel like this is like
garbage.
$100 million show, you know?
I'm loving it too. Yeah, but it's because they went with practical effects and this is the basics. Like they returned to the basics
Yeah,
for this, and you feel
yeah,
that.
that's true. I mean, just the hex and everything in this episode, man, so good.
Yeah. So we met Lilith. She's the fortune teller. We also meet Alice. She's a cop, and then later on we see that Billy likes to watch this YouTuber that does all this skincare stuff, and that's oh gosh, what's the name?
Jennifer Kale.
Jennifer Kale. So yeah, I was gonna say Sashir. I'm like, no, what's her in game? So
Yeah.
it's like I want to say Billy's kind of possibly steering Agatha later on for people that he knows already, maybe subconsciously even.
Really steering people for. Sorry, say it one more time.
So
It's
like
not
so
right
like
there.
later on, like all these people Billy already knows. So when Agatha's looking for a coven, is she steering
Oh,
her to the witches that he knows already? Because they're all people he knows. And even the Black Heart we
yeah.
know is the code name that his boyfriend sends him is the Black Heart. Like you're a Black Heart. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because he died. That's so true. Totally. I mean, he even meets Mrs. Hart later on in this episode, but
I know.
I don't want to jump ahead to that just yet.
I was just happy she has a little more screen time. Let's
Oh
give her
yeah,
some more
yeah.
money.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I do think we're gonna find out that Billy has been in more control of the situation, even beyond this, because we're kind of set up to the point where they talk and go on the road, but then we don't have that second episode of this show through his point of view. So I wouldn't
Mhm.
mind seeing that as well, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and they could definitely do that in the next episode as well. But man, yeah, just seeing all the research and kind of really getting more of the characters of the Lord from the comics too. I really love it. Obviously, we get to see his relationship with his boyfriend, and it's very sweet too. It's very endearing. Like I love the boyfriend is awesome. They have this really fantastic relationship, and
Yeah.
you know it goes beyond. Obviously, I think depending on your life, like a gay relationship can be very difficult, but they're so supportive of each other. And he's like, I don't care if you really know who you are or not. Like, you know, I know you now, and I think that's all that matters. And that then leads to, hey, we're gonna go meet a Reddit dude in a garage. And like, I don't know, I don't want to get murdered, but he seems to know the answers.
Okay, so real quick on the boyfriend. Uh, I love to read into shit way too much, but he's about to take off, or he takes off his jacket partially, and he's wearing a sleeveless shirt. Then, Billy's like, "Oh no, put that on. I can't be distracted."
Yes.
What famous young Avengers has sleeveless shirts? Hulkling. Just throwing that out there,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. That'd be awesome.
I'm like dashing down notes. I'm like, okay, let me read that shirt real quick. Let me make sure it doesn't say like I'm Hulkling or something on it.
Right. I bet the room too, like when he first goes in and he's like not recognizing himself, which this is part two. I thought
Yeah.
Joe Locke absolutely crushed it. He's like, you know,
Oh my
he's
god.
looking at himself in these pictures and he's like, I don't know who that person is.
Yep.
But I bet there's so many little Easter eggs in the room. There's like an Alice in Wonderland
Mhm.
poster, and I'm like, this is very much somebody going into a different reality. But there's a bunch of different things in there that I'm sure will tell us so much about who Joe Locke or who Billy Kaplan is.
Kaplan. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote that down. He decorates like I do with like the Goody posters and stuff like that. Later on,
Mm.
he has Lorna Luna posters up, which
Yeah,
was
yeah.
very cool.
Yeah. The Lorna
Along
Woo
with the
was
record
sick.
playing.
And then how that song comes in and we get another version of the song too. Like so good.
Oh,
Like, oh man, they're doing such a great job of
so
it.
buying the record for this. But yeah, you had a good point there. I want to make sure to shout out because this is a very big change for Joe Locke's acting up to this point. So the first part of the episode, he feels like kind of this like shy kid going to his bar mitzvah, which is a formative time of his life. He's supposed to be playing 3 years younger at this point too. Then we
Mhm.
have a very confused Kaplan coming back, and I think Joe does a really good job of that mirror scene where he's kind of looking at two different reflections of who am I, trying to remind himself who he is.
Yeah. Yep.
And then, we're getting him as he's developing into this new version of Billy Kaplan slash Maximoff. And yeah, so this is a new version of acting for Joe that we haven't seen yet, and
Yeah.
just hits it out of the park. That is one thing that this show cannot be discounted on, is this amazing casting. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I've kind of recently gone back and watched some of the Heartstopper stuff, and man, he is
I need to watch that.
talented.
Okay.
But I feel like I feel like he's really getting to shine in this. And I also love as the powers are coming in and he's reading their minds and he's starting to get overwhelmed. You
Yes.
know, and it's something that the X-Men, the original franchise, was so good, like the live action franchise was so
Yeah.
good with how overwhelming it would be if you could read everybody's minds and
Mm-hmm.
like you could, you know, catch their feelings and everything. And he's just like, just stop fighting. And he freaks out. I thought that was so well done. And the way it was shot too. Like
Yes.
talk about nerding out. I just watched this video on like these editors and the editors for the Bear and how they actually make things more dramatic and more tense. And it's funny watching that video and then comparing it to this episode tonight is very similar. The way they're kind
Oh
of
yeah.
like tilting the camera and zooming in on different aspects of the parent's face and stuff. It's really well done.
It's a science to the art, right? It's like you don't notice that they're doing it, but they are purposely manipulating your emotions with the music and with the way things are shot. And when you do catch it, you can appreciate it so much more. But that's the point, is that you're not supposed to actually catch it. I
Yeah,
do want
yeah.
to call out something. He is very distracted by all the voices he hears. Now, in WandaVision, when Agatha is babysitting both the kids, there's a line that's said, and it's supposed to throw us a hint to Agatha. But now, if we look back, it's actually throwing us a hint to Billy as well, when he
Mhm.
says, "I like it here, Agatha," and he says to her, "This is young Billy. You're quiet
You're
inside."
quiet.
Yes, and I was like, at the time, you're like, oh, it's because she's not being manipulated by Wanda. He's hearing them scream because Wanda's got the block on him.
Hmm.
But now we're also hearing like Agatha probably has a protection on herself to not be read, so that's also a quietness that he's not hearing from other people. Oh, I
Yep.
love these shows so much.
Yeah, they're again, you take somebody who worked on this one show, you use them for the next show, they understand the
Yes.
characters, they understand the thought process for the original show, they're going to carry it over. That's it. And again, that brings us over to Ralph Boner and having Evan Peters come back.
Yes.
As soon as I saw it was Bonerific 69, I was like, no way. Are they really bringing back Evan Peters? And especially as Ralph Boner. I think he calls
Yeah.
himself Randall now, but it's like, what? Really? Like he wants to
Yeah.
do that? But I mean, that's a hilarious scene. The paranoid guy who knows too much, and rather than going to the dark web, he's on Reddit, like spilling the
Yeah.
beans on everything that happened in the hex. So good, so funny.
He reminds me of so many like older people in my family who think they're being secretive because they're in like a Facebook group. And it's like, oh man, come on.
Yeah, like a
Uh,
hundred people, if not 1,000 people, can monitor and see inside that group chat every day
and
for
then
sure.
Ralph's got like like a high access to bird bones. Did you notice that? He's got the one that
Yeah,
he's like
yeah,
warding things off. He's got a cross on his hat made out of bird bones. Where
right.
are you during the day? Because I'm a little concerned.
Yeah, true, right? I mean, he's got a one-man show, so he must be in some like coffee
Oh my
shop or
god.
theater practicing and stuff. But yeah,
Yes.
but I mean, also shout out to Evan Peters, like super funny, but also like really good and intense.
Yeah.
Like you really feel like he got, and he was like, I didn't just get messed up like everybody else. Like I was like Agatha's prisoner too, and I couldn't do anything. I was just watching my whole life go by. I kidnapped a woman, which goes back to the spectrum of it all. Because
Yes.
remember in WandaVision, I was like, damn, he's talking about her, not just Wanda. So I just thought, man, they're like doing such a good job of like tying all these things together, and Evan Peters is just like crushing it.
I think that was a nice subtle nod to the idea that what Wanda did again was not malicious. It was very much a panic move, and there was kind of like a governor to her, right? When
Mm-hmm.
he's explaining like, but I was under Agatha's control, and that was more aggressive and penetrating to try to tell the audience subtly that Wanda's version of what she did bad, but not purpose, and Agatha was cruel. Just kind of
Right.
reminding us that there's a difference between these two witches when Billy's picking a side.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well said. I think that's a great point. Definitely.
Yeah. Um, okay, so we have Pietro, who's God, I just love seeing him again. He does a great job acting it up. And then the way he does, like, oh, it's however much money, or you have to come to my show. Now you've been in
Yeah.
the improv
Yeah.
crew. How often are you kind of like, I need people to fill these seats out to be like justify the improv thing? Ever had a problem?
No, no. I mean, we didn't. We were the opening act, so the
Okay.
bigger we always open for a bigger act. So I mean, not like we were so famous. We always had seats filled, and it wasn't like a big thing. Also, you're so nervous, you kind of don't want that many people to show up. So it's kind of like
Okay.
you're like, I if I mess up tonight, I want nobody to see this.
When I had heard that, I have been on the other side of that. I was like, hey man, come to my concert. I need to get like 12 people to. I'm like, oh, I don't want to go to your
Uh,
concert, man.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I was always too
Uh,
embarrassed. I was like, I wasn't even promoting the improv shows at the time because I
yeah.
didn't want anybody to know I was doing that. I was like, man, I don't want you to see me look like a complete idiot or act like a baby for 3 minutes or something. You know?
Now look at us. Listen to our podcast, our multiple podcasts each.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is true.
Oh man,
Times have changed.
times have changed. We return back to Billy Kaplan's room, and we see that Billy's like really fully into the witchcraft thing. He's listening to that cool witch soundtrack that everybody's into,
Hmm.
and he's digging into it. He's digging into the Agatha thing. I do like how he starts to unpeel it and uses kind of modern technology to do what other witches probably didn't know how to do. Where he's just like, yeah, reverse image search, and like
Right.
there she is. I always like when that kind of works out well for him. But that was pretty cool.
Yeah. No, it's super great. And at this moment, I mean, because based off one little seed that Ralph Boner gives him, which is like Agatha's still in Westview and she's like
Yep.
still under the trance. And he's like, what? She's down the street. And you're right. Yeah. Now he starts digging deeper, but it's also cool. And it shows us like how old Agatha is. Like we obviously saw at the Salem witch trials, but where was she during like the early 10s and then the 20s and the
Yeah.
30s? And you get a little bit of snapshot. And that was really cool. But I don't know if as you scrolling through the different websites, there's one part that says like obviously calls her a witch killer, but there's another part that says succubus powers. I was like, ooh, that's kind of interesting.
Yes, which is the Ralph part of it. I think. I think that's how she got Ralph to be under her spell.
Yeah, true. Well, succubus powers too can also be like when you steal energy or you like steal love from
Oh,
somebody who is over,
okay.
right?
Yeah, I like that
So
better.
like Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of what Agatha's powers have been. We still don't know
Yeah,
if she controls it or not, but the fact is, like, when you shoot energy at her, she takes it, and then she takes more from you than you can give. And
yeah,
so I just think that was like a cool little tidbit in there. And I don't know if that's ever been explained like that in the comics.
I do like that. Did you notice any Easter eggs when he's searching around? Because I know there's a website that he went to that like lists all witches, and I need to go back and really look at that because it feels like, oh, you'll find something deep in there, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I was curious, like the names before her when he finally
Yeah,
gets to like that third, fourth website, and there's
yeah.
all those different A names. I'm like, what are those names? But I got to go back and check it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good. This is definitely one, like, again, we are talking about his room. It is so Easter egg full. This is the one that was like, I was talking to Squeaks last night, and I was like, hey, man, I know I told you, like, we've gotten to this new agreement where I'll watch the Disney Plus show and I'll tell you if it's worth watching. And so I told him, Acolyte, you could pass. But I told him last night, I'm like, don't worry about it. No matter how this ends, it's already worth watching now. And this would be the episode, like, if your friend is not sure if they should be watching Agatha All Along, watch it absolutely right now for sure, because it just flew wide open.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was even on board last week in episode 5
Yeah.
because that was the thing. Everybody's like, is he a bigger character or is he not? Is he Billy or is he not? And it's just like doors are completely open. I thought the episode
Mhm.
5 reveal was great, but then seeing where it all starts for him too, and then now we get into like the West view of it all, and he's like, this is crazy, and seeing it from his perspective, like he's not this epic thief. He's not super
Yeah.
nimble. He's not like doing everything perfect. It was so random. I think in episode 1, you're like, who is this kid just breaking in the house while they're still there? And then
Yeah.
you see it now, and it looks like Agatha's just crazy downstairs, and he's like, I just need to get this one piece from her that's hers so that I can like release her from the spell.
I've been waiting for that locket to come back up, by the way, and then we have it there. Uh, and then I think that's being used in a lot of the. This is such a weird place to find clothes for this, but the Disneyland merch. They just got the Agatha All Along ears,
The
and I
ears,
believe the
yeah.
locket is part of the ears, or it's part of another thing you could buy.
Like I think it's in the center, right?
I think you might be right. Yeah. So it shows like how valuable it is. If they're gonna put it out for Disneyland, it's important. On
Mm-hmm.
that note, there is now an entire line of Scarlet Witch stuff now at Disneyland. So
Mm-hmm.
will we see Wanda at the end of this? Possibly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Who knows? I still think it's a possibility. I still want to see Mephisto, but I guess my question more, like bringing it back to the locket, is who do you think that the hair in there is Rio's?
Oh man. Or is it Nicholas's?
Right. That's what I was
Mm.
asking. Who do you think?
What if? Oh man. What if at the end of this, I wonder if there's a way where like Agatha, we're thinking he's gonna wish for power, and if she decides to wish for Nicholas, or for some insane reason, Joe or Billy wishes for Nicholas to come back, or something like that. Like
That'd
I
be crazy.
hear
I
it.
also like how you answered that question with a question. Well done. Like, but yeah,
10:30 at night, guys.
right. But yeah, I think it's probably Rio's. Although I like that conundrum you gave Agatha at the end though. That
Mhm.
kind of theory where it's true, right? Billy's also showing her, and we haven't even got to the part where we're back on the road with him. And
Yeah.
she's like, oh, all witches want power. And he's like, I don't want power. I want my brother. Or like she's
Right.
kind of guessing, right? And I think that would be a great lesson for Agatha. It's like, yeah, you could have all your power back, or you can have the one thing that you gave up that you knew you never should have gave up, and that's your
Mhm.
son back. And I still think there's some type of Nicholas Scratch person in there, if not Mephisto. I still think we
Oh,
get
interesting.
some type of Mephisto at the end, but I could see her. That's her lesson in this. Is like
Yeah.
power wasn't everything. Power never really got me what I wanted. What I wanted was this my son, and I gave him up with no chance of getting him back. Now I can.
Yeah. Let's get to that road then, because that's a really good point. Is at the road, we're having Agatha kind of do this like circle around him. She's very much unleashed, and it reminds me of when Agatha is taking Wanda into her past to figure out when she took on that super powerful role, and she figured out it was, oh, you did a luck spell on the missile.
Mhm.
And so clearly Agatha's not holding back anymore, and we know Billy's Billy. One of the things she mentions is like, "Oh, I had a feeling like since the beginning that you were Wanda's kid. You have the same tell. What do you think that tell is?"
Yeah, I think that's interesting too. I was trying to think through that. It's got to be the way he answers things or the way he kind of looks at things. Like something about his demeanor has to give off Wanda. I mean, not only that, right after she says that, he says, "I'm nothing like you," which is straight from Wanda in WandaVision. Like she says
Yeah.
that. So it's like obviously he still uses like the same words that she does and stuff. I don't know what the exact tell is, but yeah, I don't know. I just think that was like a really great kind of call out that they did.
Hmm. I
What do you
believe the
think it
tell
is?
is that they both try to penetrate people's minds before they speak.
Ooh, like they try to like read their minds to know what they're
Yes.
gonna
Yeah. And like Agatha's the one with the quiet mind. And so Agatha, I believe, has a barrier against that, and so knows like when Wanda was around, constantly trying to get in, and then as soon as she meets Billy, boom, he tries to do the same thing. He's like, aha,
oh
thinks
yeah.
it's you're your mama's boy.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I like that. It's funny because we just put out that video talking about like, when did she realize it? When did she
I know.
realize it? And this episode answered it. And so we got some crazy comments in there too. We're like, okay, just chill out. We weren't that far off, people. But
Yeah, of
like,
course.
but yeah, I love that because it was a valid question. Why I know it's valid because they had to answer it in this episode. And yeah, I love that you brought up the tell. I have to think through that a little bit more. So I'm trying to think of what else he's been doing that feels like very Wanda, but I think you're on it. Maybe just the way he tries to like intrude their minds.
Will that tell come back up later on? Will there be a moment where a false Billy is trying to maybe make a deal with Agatha, and then she's like, "Wait a minute, you're not actually Billy," or something like that? Or I have a feeling there's going to be a moment where like maybe a fake Wanda shows up. She's like, "No, no, no, that's not actually your
Ooh.
mom," and she knows the truth because she sees the tell that Billy doesn't see.
Like that. I mean, if anything, Agatha, I mean, minus being at the start of the season in Westview and like thinking she's a cop, really has been very observant and is really good at reading people. She's like,
Yeah,
I know what you're thinking. She's like, I know you're thinking this is crazy. I know you think this is stupid, but she's able to kind of manipulate it. And she really hasn't had powers while other people have in the show. And she still kind of gets what she wants. So I think, yeah, if anything, her other superpower is like really being able to read people and know what they're after. Now you get to that part where she's crawled out of the mud and she's talking to Billy and she's like, "Ooh, what do you want? Is it Mama back? Is it Robo Papa? Is
yeah,
it, or is it your brother?" And instantly she knows, like, boom, I got it. You want your brother
yeah.
back.
What was it that she said? Something along the lines of like, blood and wires or something like that. Like she even mentions like,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Agatha's.
like
Oh
blood,
God.
wire, or like wire, blood, and bones, I think is what she said.
Yeah, it's like such a
Yeah.
little nod to the fact that his dad is Vision. I just love that so much.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I have nothing else to say except for just how excited I am to watch where this journey goes. I mean, we are moving down the road, and we still have a good amount of episodes left, which feels so good because I think in the normal, Marvel or Disney Plus formula, the next episode would be the last one. But no, we get to explore
Right.
some more. We get to have some more fun.
That would be too fast. Yeah. The other thing I want to bring up is that we see that Billy actually is the one that cracks the sigil on the little
Yeah.
block, and that kind of it seems like it's going to release it for everybody. So
Hmm.
I dug that. They said, how do you get rid of a sigil? The only way is when it's destroyed and when it's no longer needed. So he destroyed it because it is no longer needed. Now everybody knows who he is. So I thought that was great. The other shout out is Lorna Woo's version of The Witch's Road. Like as he's searching, right? And then The Witch's Road, the lyrics comes in, and then he looks it up in the book, and it's like the lyrics hit perfectly, and it's you get your wish at the end,
Yeah.
at right where like the song stops. So I thought that was just like so cool, so well timed, and like the way they've been able to like kind of pull out sound and like use it diegetically, but like also a little bit like off cue and kind of fades out has been
Hmm.
so smart, so well done. So scoring in this show is phenomenal.
And I'm such a world builder, lore hound. Let's not forget that when the music's being played, it's the protection for Alice. So while he's listening to that song, it's protecting Alice, and that's just some
Yeah.
really cool freaking fanfic or whatever. It's exciting.
Dude, oh, yes. Okay, you reminded me of one other thing. Talk about world building. We know other things about how the world is viewed, the hex. They talk about it. Wasn't that some like Avengers training mission gone
Good
wrong?
call. Yeah.
And I was like, yes. Because like, wouldn't people think it's weird that this giant red thing went up? There's got to be phones everywhere.
Hmm.
People have to know like that was something weird, but it's never really been addressed in the outside world. Like obviously Doctor Strange knew it, but like it's cool to see regular folk talking about like this crazy thing happened in New Jersey. Like that,
Hmm.
that was awesome.
I'm immediately thinking like it would be cool to have an audio drama or like a podcast with like the narrators being normal citizens that live in the MCU, because there's a thing where it's like, look, it's weird that that happened to Westview, but also they have to
Hmm.
prepare for Thanos if he comes back. Like there has to be this
Right.
balance in everybody's mind, and then you also have to kind of get them ready for new superheroes, and yet have disdain for mutants that's coming up. There's that weird balance too.
Right.
That's a big mix.
Totally. Like, don't you think if you lived in this world now, okay, you've seen aliens, you've seen hexes and stuff, you've seen magic, you've seen super, like, don't you think nothing would surprise them? Like, you would just like believe everything. It's so weird,
Yes,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, I think about it all the time, like, why would mutants be any different than somebody else who could shoot crap out of their head? It's just
The
like,
thing
I
with
don't get it.
mutants, like the key, I think, with like the X-Men and how Stanley and all them designed them is to be like political. So I think the thing with mutants is they see it as an invasion on who they are, and so I think that's the reason people hate them.
Right.
Like superheroes are super us. They're above us. They're different of us. They're not replacing us. Mutants are here to replace you, and I think that's
That's
what makes them
true.
hate them so much, because it's like, oh, and then it doesn't help that like Magneto's like, we're the better version of evolution, and it's like, shh, don't say
Yeah,
that.
that's
That's the part that
true.
they're afraid
That's
of.
true. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. And the X-Men, I mean, obviously are always trying to say, like, no, we're trying to be one of you. And yeah, I guess people will find something to hate about everybody. Not to get political, but here we
Me and
are.
Jonathan were at the gym and talking. He's like, he's basically not a Captain America fan. As I was explaining, like Captain America's dope,
What?
and well, he's just like what it is I think he doesn't like him as much as everybody else likes him is the key,
Okay, that's
and
fair.
and he's like he's just too much of a Boy Scout. I'm like, first off, you gotta know who Nomad is then, because during the real Civil War and stuff like that, that's a really cool era for Captain America, and to me, it solidifies him. And then I was like, another great character to research too that always has that Boy Scout moniker is Cyclops. And when you dig into Cyclops, which I'm newer to doing this, when you dig into
Hmm.
Cyclops, you learn about his real passion and where his actual loyalties lie, makes him such a
Yeah.
better character. So I mean, like
And where
honestly,
his
the entire time
fears
at the gym,
are.
we're comparing the two. It was like such a great
Yeah.
combo.
Well, yeah, man, I could go on all day, but like
I
Cyclops is
know.
driven by like fear. He's like, my people are being oppressed, they're being attacked. I have to do whatever I can possibly do. I
Yep.
can't slip up anywhere because I have to be the leader and I have to burden everything for the team. I have to be on it. Captain
Yes.
America is just filled with like the most righteousness, the most good of anybody. He's what you would want a person representing your country to be like he's
Yeah.
the pinnacle of it. And I just think that that's so awesome, especially you have so many other characters who want to break the rules and can break the rules. You need to show what the ultimate version of like, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make this situation as good as I possibly can. I love Captain America for that because like it really gives us as people something to strive for.
The unattainable too. Like Superman's the same thing, right? Superman is this like perfect person, unobtainably a good person, but he has the Krypton thing going on with him. And Captain America has some super soldier serum, but he still has all the weaknesses that we do too. And so the fact that he's that good and you could never obtain how good he is, and we could just strive from the entire time, makes him even cooler. It's the Batman effect,
Yeah.
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I personally, I don't want to feel like it's unobtainable. Like, why can't it be obtainable? Why can't we be better people? Why can't we try to
Yeah.
like always do the right thing? We could. It's a
Yeah.
choice. I think it's a choice. So
It's the
I
Catholic in
push
me. I'm
for
realizing the Catholic guilt part of me is like, no, you can never be that good. You could strive.
yeah,
That's the
yeah.
classic.
Okay, maybe. Yeah, maybe Matt Murdock would have a completely different impression of this, but
Oh man, I tell
um
you what, Matt Murdock was my jam when he first came out, and I was like, "There's my boy."
yeah. Definitely. I love me some Matt Murdock
Oh,
too.
me
But
too. Soon,
man,
guys, soon.
yeah, but back to this show, I think it's
Yeah.
just doing these characters so well. I can't say I was the biggest fan of Billy Maximoff,
Hmm.
from the comics. Like he's cool, but I didn't really quite vibe with him. I haven't read everything that he's been in, but man, this is making me love this character so much. And I think, yeah, Joe Locke was 100% the right choice. And we haven't even seen like everybody else's story still happen yet. It's
There's
just
so
like,
much
oh,
more to go. Yeah.
it's great. I'm loving this show.
Please let us know what you guys think about this. Join us over on all our social medias, especially Threads, where we're just having a lot of fun. And come hang out with us, guys, and let us know what you guys think of Agatha. And also, if you have any movies or TV shows you guys want us to watch, let us know. We'll add it to the playlist. It'll be in there, and then we'll check them out. All
Absolutely.
right, guys. Thank you again for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Aloha.